Welcome to China, as of this year, the new largest automotive market in the world. Among the companies vying for this fast-growing market, General Motors. With an estimated 12% market share in 2008, GM was the second largest automaker in China. Volkswagen was number one.
Well, I've got to tell you, it's not often that you keep looking at sales numbers that keep growing and growing and growing.
The first and so far most successful traditional GM brand in China is Buick.
In June this year, Buick has been achieved the 2 million unit sales in China, which is a very key milestone. It takes us about the first 8 years to sell 1 million car, and the second million car only take us 3 years.
Last year, GM sold 280,000 Buicks in China, double the number of Buicks sold in the United States. Not something you would expect from a brand that is fighting an aging, stodgy image in its home country. In 1998, GM started building cars at a new plant in Shanghai. It was part of a joint venture with Shanghai Automotive Industry Corporation, better known as SAIC. Buick became the automaker's flagship in China. Several factors contributed to Buick's initial success. Chief among them was the rapid growth of Chinese economy for the past quarter of a century. Average annual GDP growth in the last 3 years was at least 10%.
It's really, in some ways, an example of huge pent-up demand. This was a culture that had people who saved their money, who had money, and people wanted to have vehicles.
Behind the scenes, as GM negotiated plans to build cars in China, the automaker focused its attention on developing relationships with political figures in Shanghai, who carried strong influence with national politicians. Chiefly among them was Chinese President Jiang Zemin. Still, Buick wouldn't seem like an obvious choice if it wasn't for its historic reputation in China. In 1930, according to General Motors, 1 out of every 6 cars driving on Shanghai's roads was a Buick. It was a brand of choice for dignitaries and politicians.
And the hierarchy became enamored with this vehicle, and it was a status symbol, and it stayed that way, though the brand went away and it was no longer sold in China after so many years.
At the turn of the 21st century, GM used Buick's historical cachet of power and influence to market its cars to party officials and managers of state-owned companies. It then extended its reach to private citizens. Here's a description of Buick buyers.
In southern China, they are more entrepreneur. In eastern China, Shanghai, they are more the management role or the director role people. And in Beijing, they are have some government offices there.
A partnership with SAIC allowed GM to grow its share of cars produced in China from 3.6% in 1999 to more than 11% in 2005.
Our partnership is based on, both sides contributing their best assets and both sides needing to win for a partnership to succeed. What General Motors brings is technology, 100 years of experience, great knowledge. What our Chinese partner brings is a great understanding of the marketplace.
Despite early success, it isn't all smooth sailing for GM in China. Buick's sales declined in 2008 by 15% as its models grew older and the company prepared to introduce new models in 2009.
We think maybe we need more perfect and fashionable cars.
The automaker constantly runs the risk of Chinese firms copying its technologies.
Well, the issue of intellectual property is always a big issue when we talk about China.
The government-designed joint venture structure could erode some of the advantages that GM brought to the market, particularly in terms of technology.
The joint venture process has speeded up and brought the level of capability of the joint venture Chinese companies to a higher level faster than the Japanese or the Koreans, because they had all the capability that these foreign automakers have brought to their country, and they have really learned how to do manufacturing.
GM faces growing competition from dozens of automakers, both foreign and domestic. This is arguably GM's biggest challenge in China.
Personally, I think as for the regular Chinese people, they probably will choose the Japanese car, because the Japanese car has a very good reputation for saving oil, and plus the Japanese car is more economical I mean, you don't need to pay a lot of money, then you can buy a Japanese car.
Competition is a huge challenge. You know, it's a big market in China, it's growing fast, but it's no longer a secret. You know, every car manufacturer in the world wants to compete and win in China.
Forecasting firm CSM Worldwide expects Volkswagen and Hyundai to build more cars in China than GM in the next 2 years. Keeping up with the competition to offer new models and meeting evolving safety and environmental regulations will be challenging.
China's moving fast and catching up on safety and environmental regulations, and that imposes a very significant workload. We're moving probably 5 times faster than the rest of the world to catch up.
GM has introduced Cadillac and Chevrolet models to China to extend its reach. But even more affordable Chevrolets run about $10,500, which is too expensive for most Chinese citizens.
Not many people can afford a car. If I work hard, I can afford a car within 3 or 4 years. I probably will choose a cheap car, economic car.
Other automakers already have an edge on GM in that mass market. This year, GM will be helped by the introduction of new models and China's economic stimulus plan. GM and Buick have developed a strong foundation in China. Now they must meet new challenges.